A man would rather live in his apartment than go anywhere else. He tries to make a living by capturing and posting scary ghost videos. However, this desire of his backfires on him. We enter an apartment room. Several different rooms are shown, while someone repeatedly counts down from 10. We soon see the man lying in bed. He is Ken Barber. He covers his windows with newspapers and talks in front of a camera for his channel. Opening his front door, Ken is not satisfied with what he sees and closes it. We observe that he has many sorts of food sorted neatly into containers. As he cooks, his channel is heard in the background, where he offers advice. Ken opens the front door again and collects a newspaper with a broomstick. Then, he takes a non-living bird out from a biohazard bag and examines it. He keeps engaging with his channel and recommends viewers subscribe to him. After finishing his latest video, he is exhausted. A part of an animal lies somewhere in his room, and more of his unorthodox living is displayed when he lies on a declined bench. He also drinks a lot of pink medicine. Ken waters his plants in a room full of them. After that, he speaks to someone for the first time. He and his friend talk about Ken's channel and how it is not doing so well. His friend gives him some advice and informs him that one of his birds fell during one video. Ken watches the video and sees what his friend described. He tells him he will call him later. We see many more birds on his table. He examines one of them. In his next video recording, Ken talks about the bird falling in the other video. He got comments about it, with some people telling him his place could be haunted. He opens his refrigerator and looks at more birds inside of bags. Next, he talks to his other friend, Kelsey, on video. She tells him to find out whether something sinister happened in his building. She thinks that it might be haunted, just like some comments told him. Kelsey also asks him if he is going outside. Ken says he does not do it. It gives him a chance to understand his new apartment. Talk about him working comes up as well. She tells him that his channel is not likely to give him an income. We discover he got downsized from his job. After the call, he does some research on his building and discovers that someone lost their life there. As he keeps reading, Ken acquires a bloody nose. He mixes some alcohol with his medicine and drinks it. Following that, he starts recording another video, talking about the possible haunted nature of the building. Ken mentions that a young lady lost her life there in 1950. She fell out of a window while attacking her father with an axe. Her name was Roberta. As the man talks, someone knocks on his door. He yells hello to the person, but gets no response. So, he starts walking to the door slowly and states that the person is not supposed to be in there. He threatens to call the police, but the knocking continues. When he cautiously opens the door, a hand touches him, and he quickly closes it. Ken awakens at a later time, seemingly having lost consciousness from that. He counts down from 10 and prepares coffee with his medicine. The man keeps counting as he lies on the decline bench. Then, he talks to his friend, Terry, again. He tells Ken his channel should be a ghost channel and tells him about a popular one that deals with that. Ken could send his video there and collect views that way. Next, Terry introduces the idea of his friend getting a spirit jar to lure the ghost. He also mentions Ken's children and that he has to call them. When Ken gets up to grab a beer, his friend glitches on video, and so does he. He comes back and sees birds on his laptop. This spooks him and asks him drop the beer. He cancels the call with Terry. At some other time, he makes another video. His front door opens in the process, and he says he always locks it. Out of nervousness, the man starts counting. He reaches 1 and is relieved that nothing is there. He continues to say there are only 2 apartments in his building, and no one lives in the other one or has a key. Ken now puts a small amount of coffee in his glass and fills the rest with medicine. He adjusts the newspapers on his window and trims the plants. While the man examines a bird, we see a dark figure standing in the other room. Subsequently, Ken presents a spirit jar he created to Terry. He also brings a book that helped him design it. From it, he reads some Latin phrases and translates what they mean. When he opens the jar, a glitch takes place and Ken vanishes. This puts Terry into a panic. Soon enough, everything returns to normal and Ken gets up from the floor. Terry describes to him what happened, but he acts confused. He goes to the washroom and pulls something out of his mouth. After that comes a shower. A mysterious figure walks in the reflection. In the following scene, Ken is talking to Kelsey and her husband, Isaac, about his experience with the jar. They tell him to keep going with it because they like ghost videos. But Ken is apprehensive. He talks to Kelsey alone for a while, and she finishes by telling him to make more scary videos. Ken agrees to it and tells her not to show the videos to his daughters. Later, he watches the channel Terry told him about, named Dark Corners. He watches a certain video and does not quite understand what happened in it. At another time, he talks to the author of the book he got on video. He shows him the spirit jar and the man, Colin, asks him what he put inside of it. Ken tells him he put nothing in and that he got the symbols from a list of viewers sent him. To that, Colin tells him that his jar is empty and he could open it fearlessly. He also assures him that ghosts are harmless. So, Ken opens the jar and nothing happens. After the call, he looks at the book some more and sees a picture of a demon. Knocks at his front door. Follow that. Hazily, Ken sees someone coming at him with an axe. He wakes up from the nightmare with blood pouring out his nose again. He checks outside his front door and discovers nothing. The man resorts to drinking beer and counting down the numbers. He lies in his bed, and the knocks happen again, bringing him back to his anxiety. We see him going about his activities in fear. As he lies in bed one moment, Ken witnesses the doors closing and a ghost moving. He frantically attempts to exit the bedroom, but gets pushed down. A short while later, he talks to Kelsey on video. He believes that something worse than a ghost is there with him. Kelsey sees the wound on his forehead, and he tells her something tried to destroy him. All she does is criticize him for starting to drink again. This makes him end the call so he could call Terry. The man appears very sleepy on video. Ken tells him they should not have used the spirit jar. However, all Terry does is fall asleep. Some other time, Ken gets angry and throws his bed against the wall. He drinks almost nothing but his medicine, with a few drops of coffee. He talks to Terry at a more wakeful hour, and he thinks all of it is nonsense. But Ken thinks something sinister is happening to him. Terry tells him about Kelsey giving him some information about him. Ken does not recall saying what Terry told him. He feels uneasy that he is being conspired against. He wants to know if Terry has a problem with his drinking, and Terry says that his drinking lost Ken his job and his family. He also wants to know why Ken moved so far away. He did it because he needed a fresh start. What follows is Terry saying he wanted to do ghost videos, so he would not have to get a real job. But Ken insists that what is happening to him is real. Afterward, he opens the cabinet to reveal his final bottle of medicine. He drinks the whole thing from the bottle, and then he talks to Colin again. The man tells him he did some research and discovered that Roberta's mother pushed her out of the window. Shortly after, she ended her own life in a mental hospital. What Ken did, according to Colin, is he harvested the mother's soul with his jar. Furthermore, he says that some spirits are doomed to repeat tragic events, as in the case of Roberta's mother. Colin will mail him his personal jar with the correct markings, so Ken could use it to capture the mother's spirit and release Roberta. He also wants to see a ribbon Ken told him about. While he goes to collect it, Colin begins reciting a spell. He looks demonic when he finishes it. Ken returns and presents the material that came from his mouth earlier. Colin looks at it and tells him to do nothing until his jar arrives. He gives him some general life advice before they end the call. In the next scene, Ken talks to Kelsey and Isaac. He informs them about Colin and that he acquired some revenue from his channel's ads. He also tells them that he has 2 job interviews next week. They congratulate him and talk for a little while longer. Ken is now filling his entire cup with coffee and nothing else. He feels better and collects the newspaper with his hands rather than using a broomstick. As he watches Dark Corners, he sees Terry talking about him in an interview. Kelsey and Isaac follow him, and Colin comes next. Dark Corners introduces Lyndon Knight and Colin as the experts on ghostly activity. Colin states that Ken referenced his book in one of his videos. That is what made him contact Ken. He wanted to help with his haunted situation. Dark Corners plays Ken's video, and we see demonic eyes in the dark. Lyndon says it looks dangerous. He also says that he found no record of the mother of Roberta as opposed to what Colin found. Dark Corners starts talking live to Ken now. He tells the host that nothing is happening at the moment. He follows that by showing him Colin's scent spirit jar. Shortly after, they all gather on screen for the event. When Colin starts talking, Dark Corners interrupts him and asks if he could explain what the symbols on the jar mean. The man tells them they are ancient. Dark Corners continues to question, wanting to know what language they are derived from. But Colin politely asks not to be interrupted. He tells Ken to open the jar, and he does. He also sent him a bag with items inside. He wants Ken to take them out and name them before placing them into the jar. So Ken does that. The final item is Colin's thumb. He shows them all on video that it is indeed removed from his hand. Ken places it in the jar with some disgust and removes a candle from an envelope. After lighting it, he and Colin together read an ancient text. Ken says that he believes he messed it up, but the lights suddenly turn off. They go on to read the second part of the text. Afterward, Ken says he can see Roberta, but cannot find the jar. The video glitches take place, and they all get scared. Dark Corners asks Colin what Ken should do, and Lyndon thinks that the figure is not the ghost of Roberta's mother. Colin introduces a demonic spirit and laughs maniacally. Ken vanishes from their sight, and Colin's eyes turn demonic. He welcomes everyone to an everlasting age of torment before becoming engulfed by flames. Dark Corners panics, and so does Ken. They all feel the evil presence in their rooms, and eventually they yell in horror. Ken hears the knock again. He observes how his companions obtain demonic eyes. The door opens, and a demon walks inside. He goes to Ken's laptop, while Ken backs away slowly with an axe in his hands. Finally, he leaves the building, and we see its windows lighting up brightly. The windows of other buildings follow. Ken falls to the ground and counts down to 1. Colin laughs demonically before everything goes dark. The demons have taken over,